All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back, or welcome wherever you may be joining us from. We've just finished up Champions Division Netherlands. Once again, my name is Shrifium here from Canada, and joining me now for the second leg of this evening's festivities or entertainment or action. George, it's time for Spa.
Yes, Jeff, thank you. It feels odd to hop from race to race, specifically, in such a long format. Obviously, we did the 5 lap tournament at the start of the game, but we've never done something quite like this. And well, we go from a very, very impressive champion race to, of course, Spa endurance, 100% around the longest track in the game, if I'm not mistaken. 2 minutes, just under it will take, as we've got rain as well factoring in here. It's going to be quite something to see this. And we've got a couple of drivers as well sticking around from that race. Cody Lawrence and Jeffrey Ritchie, who are reserving in champions, are back here as well. So it's not only a long night for us, but it's also going to be a long night for them as well. So we'll see how they fare. But yeah, 20 drivers ready and raring to go here. Oh, it's going to be very, very exciting.
Truly endurance for them. Truly. Neon as well. He's here. He had that race just a few moments ago. And so with a few of those reserves, you wonder, well, if they're going to be able to make it through 100% distance. Spa 44 laps. There is the distance. Rain dynamics are going to be coming through to play as well, not only in qualifying, but in the race. I'm really excited for this race. We saw a very, very wild up and down turbulent qualifying in the real world Formula 1 World Championship today, of course, and I imagine the race tomorrow will be no different. And I think that our guys here, our racers, are all going to be looking forward to the action that we find ourselves in tonight. Very, very excited. And we are going to have a full grid for this race as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fun thing about this is stuff that we go from a 50% race to a 100% race, but we only have 8 laps added on. The difference in lap time and lap length here compared from Zandvoort to Spa is quite something. So 44 laps compared to 36 in the Champions race we just did. Obviously, short qualifying here rather than the full qualifying session. So that will be 18 minutes rather than 3 sessions in varying length. But of course, I think we are just about ready to get things underway here for Spa, and well, hopefully all of the drivers are ready as well, because endurance, well, it's not named that lightly, and finishing a changeable conditions race around Spa is no easy feat.
Readied up, and we'll be racing in just a few moments. I'm so thrilled to see how everyone makes it up Eau Rouge, especially in the wet conditions. We saw, unfortunately, Lando Norris with a big issue up through there today, and then yesterday with the W Series, there's been a few big crashes up through that section of circuit. We'll see how the drivers fare on the virtual side of things, as we are now readied up. 10 seconds counting down on the clock as we jump into now a different style of qualifying than what we just saw for the Champions Division. We saw the full qualifying format for the Champions Division. Now we are going back to something that we are more accustomed to here in the MRL, which is the 18-minute short qualifying format. And I'm very eager to see the conditions as we go in here. I'm somewhat in the dark on the conditions, and I think you might be as well. I think Freeware hosting this session, so he is the weatherman.
Yeah, all I know is that there's rain involved. I don't know how much, I don't know how frequently, but I do know that there is rain. So we'll see just how it goes. But like you said, we're in the dark. The racers, well, they'll be in the dark now because obviously we haven't loaded in yet. But when we load into qualifying, we will get a forecast of some capacity. The racers obviously will be able to see it, and hopefully someone will come across and tell us. But I do believe forecast accuracy is set to approximate. So Freeware's done his thing. Like you said, he's the weatherman tonight, but he's also then gone and given the game a little bit of creative license as well to do what it wants with his guidelines. So, to be honest, I don't think anyone knows quite what we're going to be in for. And well, that
That's
is
something.
very heavy rain. I can see standing water already, and the game, quite correctly, I think, has set everyone onto wet weather tires.
Yeah, I would be shocked to see intermediate runs now, but we are now here. In 18 minutes of qualifying, wet weather is very, very, very much present, and you can just see the rain coming down here in the pit lane. We'll have to see who the first driver is to venture out, and if you were a driver in that Champions Division and you're coming into this race, I have to say, it truly is endurance for you, because that was a full qualifying, rounded off with a 50% distance campaign, which is 36 laps of the Netherlands, a circuit where there really isn't a lot of straights, there isn't a lot of, opportunity to, I'd say, rest. It's a very flowing circuit. It's a circuit where you need to keep on top of things. We've seen drivers struggle through there this week. Now we've got wet rain in another very tricky circuit, especially when we think about Eau Rouge Raidillon. Artex, the first driver out of the pit lane here. He's in the McLaren.
Yeah, and we haven't seen, too much wet weather this season. Obviously, we didn't see any at Bahrain, and we've only had a few bits of it throughout the week here at Zandvoort. Now here in Spa, like you say, a very tricky circuit. There's a lot of big curbs, so you can see the surface water just reflecting off of them. And curbs in this game, well, in the dry, they're a bit more difficult to navigate. I imagine in the wet, they are going to be very slippery and catch a lot of people out here. As we see, Talartex coming through, just trying to keep the car stable, get ready. The rain in this game, I've got to say, it looks very impressive shift compared to the last one. I think they've definitely upped the quality in terms of the rain graphics. But I imagine in terms of how it feels to drive, it will be pretty difficult on all of the drivers.
Oh, definitely. And I think some of these racers tonight had an opportunity to practice ahead of this race. If you're, again, the driver that came through off the Champions Division, you're coming off of a completely different circuit characteristically. You're coming out of a Zandvoort short form circuit, very flowing circuit, average lap time of around 109, 110 is what we were, well, for those guys it was much quicker, but you have a very quick lap to say the least there. Spa, a much longer lap.
Yeah, no overtaking at Zandvoort, really. Obviously, we saw, into turn one, etc. But Spa, there's loads of overtaking opportunities, so they haven't even had that to warm up here, whereas some of these other guys might have been in, a practice race together or something. Tau Artex getting it out of the final corner, not perfectly, but he will get to the line to start his first and obviously the first flying lap of the session. Down into La Source, turn one, getting through there. It looks slow. It is slow, but that's because of the rain, not because of Tau Artex here as he comes up through turn two towards Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Let's see how he goes, taking the first corner very nicely. Has to lift off, of course, as he comes through the complex, but he does navigate it successfully. Now, of course, no DRS down the Camel Straight in these conditions, but he is going to be flying over 190 miles an hour into the comms, 7, 8, and 9. And just again, lifting off, being very gentle on that throttle as he comes out of it and towards turn 10. Still, though, going pretty well for the McLaren as he just navigates everything, gingerly pressing on the throttle, not wanting to risk anything, specifically on this first lap here. Through out of 11, down towards Pool, and now turn 12, of course, this long left-hander, just opening it up, making sure to get the car through, being a little bit braver on the throttle through here. It's a very fast corner, exiting out nicely, 13 now, and again, just trying to avoid that curb a little bit as he comes through campus towards Stavelot now. And again, just keeping everything very careful, but everything very composed. Not too many, concerning moments for the McLaren here as he comes out through 16 now towards Blanchimont. These fast left-handers, Blanchimont there, 17 towards 18. Just very, very fast. Full throttle even in these conditions, down towards the bus stop chicane. The last two corners, 19 and 20 here at Spa. A little bit wide through the first, but getting it turned in for 20. Coming out of the chicane in towards the line, and it's a 1:55.6. And it is going to be a long campaign, but a 1:55.6, a very, very impressive lap time, especially when you look at earlier today's times from the real life F1, a 1:55.9 coming out of Max O'Connor there in the Alpine.
Yeah, good run there. Jeffrey Ritchie coming through a 54.082, and that's now provisional pole in the Aston Martin. That's Domi, a 54.209. Max O'Connor was, of course, the second driver to set his time. Who else do we have coming through? Remco Van Putten will be beginning a lap soon. Freeware, a 54.595 from the German. Mark will cross 6th with a 56.006. Jean, 5th, 55.671. Things starting to come across the board for a good number of drivers here as Cody Lawrence, a 54.146. Yagsol, a 1:53.919, the first driver into the sub 154s here on the full wet compound.
You gotta say, Jeffrey Ritchie and Cody Lawrence, they have not been worn out by the champions race that they've just done, and already setting very competitive times here as more and more times come across the board. People flying in. I think that was Verdex going 6th fastest in the Mercedes at 1:54.3. So the 1:54s right now seem to be the place to be. Obviously, we do have that 1:53.9 up at the top for the Ferrari, but most of these drivers on the 1:54s.
There's no front wing on that McLaren. Gonna be happy about that. He might have had an issue coming up through Eau Rouge, maybe.
I think there was debris somewhere in the early stages of the lap. I couldn't find whose car it belonged to, but there's another problem. It seems Remco Van Putten just sort of parks in the grass. I don't know if he's got damage. Can't really see at the moment. Doesn't look like it, but he comes together with his teammate.
Was that a contact? Oh my, freeware. Oh my, there was contact there. Oh my, was that ever tight? And you heard it.
I mean, Remco picking up a 5-place grid penalty, and to be honest, for a rejoin like that, I'm not surprised, to be honest. I think that's the first 5-second penalty, 5-place penalty that we've seen that might be at least somewhat deserved here. But Remco, well, I'm not quite sure what he was doing on the grass in the first place, but he is going to go for a flying lap, the Dutchman. And we'll see what he could do here. A little bit of a lock-up into turn 1, and very slow through there, just as everyone else has, and very careful on the throttle out of Les Sources 2 and towards Eau Rouge. We'll see how he navigates it through here. Just touches the couple on the inside. I think that might have been a bit of a scare for him. I don't think he was intending to, but he gets it through well. If not a little bit shaky, he would have been worried, I imagine, using those curves, but gets through okay. Now down towards Les Combes. And again, another front right lockup, and that sends him super wide through 7 and into 8. Verdict to 1:53.8. And it looks like the rain might be lessening here as well. Remco is going to drop the lap, and I think intermediates just might start popping up out of the garage.
Lars and Neon opting to select them in the pit lane. We haven't seen them come out just yet, and we'll have to see if they choose to. Very, very interesting there. But of course, we have Verdex there, 53.860 ahead of Yagsol. Ritchie pushing in the Aston Martin right now. It looked like he was up through Sector 2 as far as my sector timing is concerned. Got Max O'Connor pulling off to that left-hand side now as he pushes through down into the final chicane. Big drift coming out of the Aston Martin as I think he locked it up.
Yeah, it goes around, and again, we are seeing these drivers struggle here, and lockups seem to be sort of coming out here from a few of these drivers. I wonder, obviously, lockups is struggles to wrangle his car into the pit lane as well, sliding all over the place, and I think part of that might be that we are seeing the conditions switch more towards the intermediates potentially as the track dries up and the rain lessens, but it is still raining. There is still surface water, so just needing to be a little bit careful here in these changing conditions. We've seen it catch out, a few drivers already, and we will continue to see it as we do have intermediate runners out on the track. Neon as well as Larsen both yet to set a lap, both on the green wall tires, as well as Ben the Bear who's just behind them. And Vincent's now joining them. So the drivers seem to be swaying towards the intermediates now.
Intermediate compound tires. I mean, I don't know if it's really lightened up enough, but of course qualifying, you want to be making sure you're getting the best times possible. We have just about 8 minutes remaining in our clock here, and Larsen's going to be the first real driver to give us a representation of what a lap's looking like on these tires when he crosses the line. He's the first of the intermediate runners that will be able to put a lap down. Big lock up here into the chicane, and he's just going to try to gear himself up for the best possible start to this lap. And I think it's early here, but we'll see if I'm wrong. If anyone's going to prove me wrong, it is this man.
Yeah, he is being careful on the exit there, but it did seem pretty quick. Eruptions had a spin on the wet, so again, it seems that we're at that changeover point, but if it continues to dry out, as Larsen has to be very careful through a rouge to get that through. He does do well to keep the car going, but he is struggling. Neon's going to come through the same corner as well now, and he gets through too on the inters. So the inters working, and I think they'll work better in a few minutes' time. But you just have to time that run lighter as Larsen has a bit of a slide, goes very wide as well, coming out of turn 9. Out of the near-com section of the corner, and a lock-up as well, wide through 10. And just struggling. I think we're at the changeover point. I think the inters will be faster by the end of the session. I just don't know if now is the best time to be setting a lap time.
Have to see. I mean, we've seen these wet qualifying sessions before where the driver will go out on the intermediate compound tire and they will just continuously chain laps one after another, and they will just get faster, faster, and faster. And we don't even know what this race start is going to be looking like. We don't know if it's going to be a wet start, dry start, heavy wet. We don't know what the conditions are going to be looking like at the start of the race.
Yeah, the inters are now really picking up some pace. Ben the Bear looks like he's up nearly 4 temps, just out of sector 1 alone. And obviously we know Ben, very, very quick driver. No full-time seat anywhere at the moment for Ben, but here in the endurance community race, and well, looking like he's going to put down a time. Larsen on 1:53.2, so he does put in a improved lap, and it's 6 tenths faster than Verdex. And there goes Neon at 52.4. So times really starting to crumble now. We are going to see times continue to drop as the inters come into their own and the conditions improve. Is there a problem in the bus stop? There's a yellow flag, or is it just people letting people go? Tau Artex into the pit lane. And Domi there starting a lap just in front of Ben the Bear here. Ben to the line. Where does he go? He goes second fastest at 52.5. Not able to dethrone Neon, but still a strong time in the inters. Clearly faster, and everyone right now out on the inters, with the exception of Artex and Verdex, who have both switched to the inters in the pit lane. So they're ready to come out. It's just a matter of time. Vincent, a 1:51.8. And it is going to just get faster from here on out, Striff.
Oh, yeah. Things really, really ramping up. And that's what I think everybody wants to see. This is a very fast grid when you look at it. Every single one of these drivers, albeit we're not getting the best representations of their pace in these wet conditions, I'm sure we're going to have scenarios in the race coming up where we're going to see so much great battling. If you look at this grid, I'm very excited. We've got Jeffrey Ritchie now. He's just pushed a 1:51.086, the fastest run we've seen today on the intermediates so far.
Yeah, it's 8 tenths clear of P2 right now. So that just goes to show, as more times come through, more time will be found as the conditions improve. Obviously, you know, Jeffrey Ritchie, one of the fastest drivers here. As you've just seen in Champions, he's done very well. Cody Lawrence right now on for a good time in the Haas. He was also in that Champions Division race. Both drivers there for Alpine this time. It's an Aston Martin and the Haas for the 2 Champions reserves. There we go. Cody coming down into the bus stop chicane, and a little bit of a lock up there. He's behind Remco van Putten, who's yet to set a time in the Red Bull. We'll see what the Dutchman is capable of. Well, he does a 56.4, but Cody on 151.4, instantly beaten, not by much, but by Freeware in the other Red Bull. And there goes Domi as well into P4. So the front runners really starting to hot things up. And those three who've just crossed the line, all within, 0.2 of each other. So very, very close little battle there up at the front as Vincent, a 150.9, hands it back to Jeffrey Ritchie, who beat his previously best time. As the conditions improve, this man in the Ferrari looks to be fast.
Well, things looking very tight now as these gaps continue to really close up, especially at the front end of the grid. Vincent, Jeffrey, Ritchie, we have Freeware, Cody Lawrence, Domi, Top Tuss pushing in with a 151.602 now in the Alpine. He'll be within that group just the same. A lot of drivers really getting themselves closer now, wisp through. There goes the other Ferrari Axwell, 50.834. And that's a Ferrari 1-2 provisionally. We saw Eruption begin a flyer. He's in the Aston Martin coming down the hill.
Yeah, no time set yet for Eruption. And his teammate doing very, very well right now. We'll see whether he can follow in Jeffrey Ritchie's footsteps as he comes down into 13 through 14.
Freeware's crashed.
Freeware's out, yeah. That's not good for the man who currently sits P4. As the session starts to improve as well, times start to come down. So even though he looks to be fast, he's right in the middle of the track there. That would have hurt Eruption's time a little bit. The car disappeared just at the right time, and Eruption still, he didn't snap the steering wheel. Sometimes when someone sees that coming around a corner blind, you see them panic, but Eruption, nothing like that. Very calmly just pulled to the right, found the space. So it will have cost him a little bit of time here, but given that he hasn't got a time on the board yet, he has to finish this one out, considering there's only a minute left in the session. He can go again on these tires, but he has to go now. So here he comes across the line. What is it? It's a 52.3. So not a bad time there for him, but it is outside the top 10. But how much does that hurt by Freeware as Vincent goes faster yet again? A 150.704 from the Ferrari, and it's still a Ferrari 1-2.
Mark begins another run. Everyone on these intermediate compound tires. Multiple runs is what you're seeing on the timing tower, and I mentioned that earlier. They get onto these tires and they just chain these runs. They try to find as much time as they can.
Well, here comes Ritchie. We'll see whether he's found time here. He's on 2-lap old intermediates. His previous best of 151 and into 150.9, so he does find time. There's no checkered flag next to his name, so I think he just got across the line as the yellow flags start blocking the timing tower. But Yaxiel's done. He's stopped in P2 right now. We'll see whether Ritchie has anything left in the tank. Noel as well pushing. He's looking to find some time here, and if he finds enough, he can get ahead of Yaxiel, who is done. The Alfa Romeo coming down into the bus stop chicane. What can the Swedish driver do? He's got a Dutchman ahead of him, but he might be able to jump 2, if not 3 places. Here he comes. It's just the 1. He gets ahead of Ritchie, just misses out on P2. But right now, the Ferrari power unit's doing very, very well. The top 3. One of them, Remco Van Putten, only good for 6th place. 1 second found on his previous best time.
What happened? There's a crash. Or who's that in the Ferrari there? Is that an AI? No, that's Vincent pulled off in Sector 2. Cody Lawrence, very nice time. 50.831. Front row for him.
That gap between him and Yaxiel, 3 thousandths, and well, we think that was impressive had we not just seen a race decided by 1. So the close gaps continuing in their form, but still people here who could improve. Jeffrey Ritchie, he's on for another improvement here, Strift. He could go pole with this lap time. I don't know if Vincent's pushing. I don't think he is. I think he might be out of fuel here, potentially. Does Ritchie find time on this final run? He looked good through the first 2 sectors. Here he comes, and he does. It's a 150.465. That is 3/10 clear of Vincent. Forgets close gaps as Verdex goes 3rd fastest. running it late. We always see it in these wet qualifying sessions. Getting to the line last is sometimes the best way to do things. And my oh my, Verdex there proving that point nicely. Third place for the Mercedes with a very nice run. And I do believe that concludes qualifying here.
What a qualifying session. This has been 18 minutes. Take a look at the gaps right now. First down through to 11th position, 1 second is the separation on the intermediate compound tires in these wet conditions. Wow. We're going to come into, I think, what's supposed to be changeable conditions, so dry and wet running in this 100% distance Belgian Grand Prix. 44 laps coming our way. Jeffrey Ritchie in the Aston Martin, a 150.465 will take pole position here. Vincent Nyquist second, Swedish driver in the Ferrari, 150.704, just 2.5 tenths shy of the leading Dutchman. And we have Verdex top three, of course, in the Mercedes, a 50.793, also within a very close proximity. And this is just the beginning of the intense action coming this evening, as we have a very, very good journey ahead of us through Spa.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, you know, Remco Van Putten in that Red Bull, he qualified ahead of his teammate, but he won't start ahead of it with that 5th place grid penalty as well to boot. So he will get knocked down. It's overcast. It doesn't look like it's raining, and it doesn't look like there's any water on the track. So I wonder whether we will see slick tires at the start of this one. It is overcast though, so I imagine we will see rain creep in at some point. We're not too sure what the weather has in store for us. Apparently rain is coming at the end according to the chat. It depends when though, we don't know. Obviously the weather forecast was set by the host of the lobby, which was neither of us. It was freeware, and then set to approximate, so the game can do what it wants with those guidelines as well, similar to how it was last game. But there is a little bit of randomness to this. There's broad expectations that rain comes at the end, but when, we don't know. That also means that, what do the drivers do on the tire strategies? I don't think we'll see many soft starts, unless you want to go soft inters, depending on when the rain comes.
I think we might see a lot of soft starts. I think we might see a lot of soft starts here. We're going to have to see. 10 seconds counting down now. I can see some slicks just in that Mercedes garage there for Mr. Verdex and Ben the Bear, and we'll have to see how everyone decides to go here as we now get that timer counted down. We're going to get a formation lap started here. There we go. Formation lap. Let's take a look at the tires. Ooh, this is pretty good. We have 5 drivers, 10 drivers on the softs, 9 drivers on mediums, and 1 driver on hards. Not bad. Not bad. Or is it 8 on softs?
It's 8 on softs.
8, okay.
1 on hards, and 11, I think, on mediums. If my maths.
I tried to do a quick look and kind of just go boom, but no, it didn't work.
But it's still pretty split, which is interesting, and it's split in various ways. It's, you know, we have got mediums up there at the front, Jeffrey Ritchie and Verdex, as well as Tuptus in 7th. I think that's a good call from him. It all depends on when the rain comes and how long you think you can get these tires to last, and it all, you know, depends on how much battling you're going to do as well, because, you know, Tuptus in 7th, he might have to do a little bit of fighting, especially when the slots in front of him die out. But at the early stages, when Freeware, Ben the Bear inevitably come and attack him for that position, that all affects your tire wear. Safety cars as well. It's Spa. It's very possible that we see them. Jeffrey Ritchie right now tearing up the opening formation lap. He is really going for gold here, leaving the rest of the grid in his dust, as his tires might have a nice little cool down on the grid, because, well, there is a significant gap not only between him and the rest of the field, but between Wisp and Scars as well. I think they're closing up a little bit here, but a pretty big split. But the tire situation, very interesting. Only time will tell. The clouds are above, but not expected to burst until the end. So we'll see whether the right call was mediums or softs. Ben the Bear only in 9th. I think we'd expect him typically to be a little bit higher up, but it is a very competitive grid. He's got Freeware ahead of him. You know, the likes of Richie on pole as well. Vincent, Verdex, Cody, all very quick drivers over the front. So, tricky race here. to win as Richie takes his place on the grid, but we're almost there. The start of our second race of the evening, and this one going to be even longer than the last.
Even longer, potentially even more intense, depending on what the weather does decide to do. As we've said, dynamic, approximate, changeable conditions on the way, and you can see the sky not looking too good. Max O'Connor, the final driver to take their position on the grid. It is time to go racing here in the Ardennes Forest, of course, Spa. And it is the Belgian Grand Prix. 3, 4, 5 red lights here around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. And how are things off the line? Vincent Ritchie wheel to wheel as we come into turn 1 already. Jeffrey Ritchie with a great start here. Vincent looking for a move with a switchback on the inside. How are things going? He's actually gotten away very well here as Vincent takes lead of the race on the soft compound tires.
Yeah, great start for both Ferraris. Yagziel looking to pressure Vertex had a poor start off the line. He's already lost to Cody Lawrence, managed to defend into turn 1. Down into Les Combs they come, the front two side by side. Jeffrey Ritchie looking for P1 later on the brakes. That's a very brave move and he gets it done. Awesome on the brakes for the Aston Martin. Further back, we've got Yagziel side by side with Vertex for P4 here. And the Ferrari looking to take it, holding on now. Bit late on the brakes, and that is very, very deep. He loses out to Vertex. Does he lose out to Noel as well? Noel looking to hold it. He doesn't find a way through on the Yagziel there. Freeware, 3 seconds of time penalties already in the opening stages. Remco, what a race start from him. He's almost made up that 5th-place grid penalty he had. Ben the Bear as well on the move up 2 places, looking to make it 3 on Noel. Noel, though, looking for Yagziel, closes the door there as they come down into 13. But my oh my, a very, very dramatic race start here in Spa.
It's a very intense race start. It's even more intense now as Eruption is looking the other way. Does not look like he has any damage on that front wing. There is a yellow flag up in that section of circuit as Ben the Bear has dispatched Noel, and he's looking very tight to the rear of Yagswell. Noel's being dispatched by Neon as well. And man, oh man, are things ever tight through in this fight up into 5th position. Ben the Bear does dispatch the Ferrari. Remco, a little bit late there for him to have that dive come through, and he's going to drop a whole host of positions here. He's snapped the car. Oh my!
That's a huge crash. And that was one hell of a chain of events. And I think Noel's heart rate right now will be through the roof because he saw absolutely everything. And we've got a VSC, so we've got a little bit of time to explain stuff. I got to say, coming out of 16, Noel did one of the greatest saves I've ever seen. He was looking for P4 on Yagziel, caught the curb coming through 16, slid. That opened the door for the likes of Freeware and such, and they all came through. Then Remco Van Putin, as Freeware came through, went for the dive, not only on Noel, but looked for extra positions as well. Went for 2 places into the bus stop chicane, came out of it absolutely poorly. Then he had Noel on his inside, which cost him problems. And then, of course, he spun, clipped a Wisp, whose wheel came off with the lightest tap onto the start-finish straight wall on the right-hand side. Then he got hit by someone else coming down the start-finish straight, and Noel was in and amongst everything. And, well, he's lucky to still be in this race, as is Remco. And Wisp there just getting caught out in an unfortunate bit of luck there. But Remco and Noel, well, that was intense wheel-to-wheel action, to say the least, as we go back to green flag racing.
That is very, very, very bad for Remco Van Putten there. Big issue sliding out of that final turn, and the drive-through penalty that he has now taken is really going to present him some large challenges. Of course, it's a 44-lap race. There's a lot of racing left right now. Vertex, Ben the Bear. We've been seeing Ben the Bear charge through this field, and Vertex right now is looking to lose a position to his teammate for the evening. It's mediums versus softs. Of course, the softs are going to be finding so much more pace, and it's a very neat and tidy move for Ben the Bear through the chicane. Noel Scars wheel-to-wheel through the chicane just behind them. Noel, 12th position right now. Soft tires for him.
Yeah, Ben, just brilliant start to this race. And, you know, now he's caught up to the front runners. If he can get and stick with these guys as he comes up, pushing with DRS through a Rouge. That's very, very bold there, but he wants to keep within DRS. Jeffrey Ritchie dropping to Vincent Nyquist. DRS, of course, helping there as they come down toward Lake Com. And, well, Ritchie, he did defend into turn 7 when we came through here on the first lap. Not able to do so here. Yagziol dropping as one Ferrari goes up, the other goes down. Neon up into 6th. Tau Artex, Noel coming back through this grid a little bit wide though, and the McLaren retakes the position as Scars is looking at all of this. Almost a contact between the Alfa Romeo and the McLaren as the Alfa Romeo tries to stick it up the inside of turn 10. He doesn't find it, but on the exit of 11, this might just be the run he needs down into Puon, and it will be. Can his softs afford him the traction he needs on the inside? Yes, they can. And a great move there for the Swedish driver who's looking to climb his way back through the field after a very, very hectic lap 2. But he is making some incredible moves. There is a huge gap now ahead of him, though. It's not quite the 1 minute 50 the timing tower is saying, but it is going to be a couple of seconds at least.
Top Tuss freeware very tight. Meanwhile, Yags and Neon also fighting. Timing towers are going to give us a proper update in a second here when these drivers start lap 4, and it's important to get these timings as we want to get you all the fighting. As there's a huge dive coming out of, who is that? Top Tuss. Was that Domi? He went so
Domi.
late.
It's exactly what we saw Remco do, and it just does not work. Impatience at its finest, or just a misjudgment, but either way a mistake, you've got to say. He's lost the position to Freeware now, but Freeware, he won't be impressed by that. That is not how, he wants to see the overtakes done, especially into the bus stop chicane. It's so tricky there to get it right as Vincent, Jeffrey, Ritchie go side by side. Again, the exchange there, but also Cody Lawrence is going to carry so much speed into Lacom, and he does get Vincent. Can he stay ahead though? Because Vincent's on the inside through turn 9. The Ferrari just squeezing the Haas wide. Does this open the door for Ben the Bear? Ben the Bear backs out. Vincent though deep. This could lead to Cody going up the inside. It's not going to do anything. Freeware's had a problem. What's happened to the Red Bull? He's crawling out of Lacom, and he's going to drop pretty significantly and goes behind Max O'Connor there for 15.
Very, very heated action right now in the middle of this field, especially on the rear of Vincent. Vincent has dropped 1.1 on Ritchie. There's a bit of a snap for Cody Lawrence coming off the curbing there, and Ben the Bear saw it, surely. Both Mercedes running 4-5, looking for good position. Meanwhile, you go down through this field, you have a couple of pairs battling it out, and not too many trains left in this grid, just little pairs and pockets, but it is the train right now for second position. Neon dancing in and around that 1 second range. He'll want to have the DRS, but it's Ben the Bear on the rear of Cody Lawrence now as we come into the chicane at the end of lap 4. Where is this going to land the Mercedes? He's looking to try and work that car on the rear of the Haas. The traction right now the same for both drivers as they're on the same tires, but there is going to be DRS now on lap 5, of course, for Cody Lawrence. Did Vincent get it?
I don't think he did, Chef, because the detection point, if I remember correctly, is here. So I don't think he's in it. And I wonder whether this is the mediums, because Jeffrey hasn't used a lot more battery than everyone else. Cody Lawrence, though, he's pushing now for the Ferrari. Ben the Bear is going to look for this too. Here goes Cody. He's going to find his way through. Ben has to lift a little bit, but he is going to come through on the Ferrari as well. Looks to go around the outside of Cody as well. Looks to threaten him, but doesn't find a way through on the Haas. But he does get the Ferrari, who comes back through turn 9 and pushes Ben off the track. And now Ben's teammate, Verdict, is going to have a little look. But I don't think Ben will be too impressed with how Vincent's conducted himself. And Artex, what's happened here for the McLaren? He is spinning around, trying to get out of the way. And I think he's just about managed to avoid having a crash with anyone else. I think Freeware had to go off track to avoid it. He picks up his second penalty of the evening. And he will not be happy with how this race has gone for him.
No, definitely not. That was a very, very wild exchange there. Here we go now, Ben the Bear. He's still on Vincent. Vincent, he's dropping through this lineup just a touch. Cody Lawrence, 1.5 the gap right now to Ritchie, who has broken away well from this field.
Yeah, and if you're those soft runners in 2 through 5, you've got to be worried now about Verdex and Neon behind, because if Ritchie's able to pull away on mediums, that the mediums are going to come through. Ben the Bear looking at Vincent into the bus stop chicane, doesn't find anything here. This is going to make him slow through it. Does this give his teammate an opportunity to find a way through? Not into La Source, that's for sure, but down into Les Coms. Well, you might just see an exchange. Ben threatening into turn 1, not finding it there. Mark picking up penalties. Penalties coming through very early on. We're only on lap 6. There's 44 laps around here. and that'll make some time. It looks like there's another problem for a McLaren. This time it's Larsen who's facing the wrong way. And he's all the way down in 18th.
Vincent, no DRS surely here under threat from Ben the Bear. And there goes Ben. A very easy move done for the Mercedes. We have a yellow flag popping up there, and I'm not entirely sure what that was for. Vincent Verdex. Verdex wanted to get that Ferrari. It wasn't enough.
Yeah, and that Ferrari, he's struggling, and I think, you know, he's been pushing a lot on those tires, and I think now that's going to come back to haunt him as the medium runners really look to pounce, and if he drops the DRS to Ben, he is going to get eaten alive by Verdex and Neon when they come back through these DRS sections next lap. And he's out of the 1 second window. Ben's done very well there to catch back up to Cody. Vincent dancing back underneath the 1 second, but he's having to push with his battery, and that is going to hurt him later on. Verdex pretty much full. He's on 94%. And Neon, well, he's on 41, which is, you know, about equal to what Vincent's got. So in terms of management, Verdex very much in a comfortable position here. He's got a lot of speed compared to Vincent. He used a little bit there. Coming through Blanchimont, now down into the bus stop chicane. Does he go for a little look up the inside? Vincent covers it. But that Ferrari is under real pressure here. He's a second behind Ben as he gains a lot of time through the bus stop chicane.
Scars in the Haas had an issue just coming into Sector 3. Seems he is back going now and didn't see any visible damage. Not going to be happy with that. And of course, we do have a weather forecast where rain is potentially on the way. It's an approximate forecast. We don't know the exact forecast, but I'll tell you something. I forecast an overtake because Verdex is flying on the rear of this Ferrari, and Vincent has nothing to defend against him with it. And just ahead of them, well, Cody Lawrence has been dispatched by Ben the Bear, and it's still a fight between his teammate, the teammate of Ben, fighting right now. Vincent holding on to 4th position. I said he didn't have a lot to defend. Well, he definitely turned me into a liar real quick because he has held 4th position here.
Well, he did get DRS strip, and I don't quite know how. I don't think he was in the detection point. He must have just dropped under the 1 second window, and he's lucky to have done so. But now that fight, it's just prolonged the inevitable because now the gap is 1.6.
Yeah, it's even larger.
And there's no way he holds that and gets that back under 1 second between Ben and Cody, who are fighting, but they're not fighting nearly as hard as Vincent. This is going to hurt the Ferrari's tires as well, more so than his competitors in front of him. And that's just bad news on bad news. His best opportunity now is to try and undercut on a track that's 2 minutes long. Well, here, obviously, we're lapping a bit faster than that in the dries at the moment, but he is going to really struggle to, you know, find a podium in this race. But it's a long race, and we haven't seen any safety cars yet, but we could. Verdex looking for it around the outside, down into 19. Doesn't find it through the bus stop chicane. But again, Vincent will be DRS-less down into Les Combs this time around.
Yeah, one thing to note here, Ben the Bear just dancing in and around DRS range of Richie. He had a good gap earlier. Vincent deep into La Sauce, and there he goes, trying to come back there. He's got Neon barking up his rear wing. Verdex is through. Neon surely looking for an overtake here. We come up through Eau Rouge Rédillon now, heading through into the Kemmel Straight. It's tight. DRS open on the rear for both drivers. Neon's there. He's on the mediums. Jeffrey Ritchie just ahead. Ben the Bear, they exchange. It's very, very tight here all throughout this grid. Oh my, Vincent still looking at the rear of these two. Neon didn't just take Vincent, but he took Verdex as well. Vincent fighting back. Yeah, he's fighting so hard right now. Vincent and Yags, his teammate, is there in the Ferrari. Oh man, this is great fighting. Freeware's had an issue through Lacombe.
I gotta say, Neon's move shift was absolutely superb. He had the speed fighting with Vincent, took the outside line, and then Verdex had to defend the inside from Vincent, and Neon late on the break, similarly to what we saw Richie do earlier to, I believe it was Vincent as well in the opening lap. Just slipped around the outside. Beautiful move to get both. There's a problem for one of the Alfa Romeos. It's Noel. Well, he's dropped through this grid not once, but now twice. He gained all that time, and he loses it from what might have been a mistake on his own. I don't think he'd caught the train in front. So the Alfa Romeo now back in the thick of things in this train at the back of the grid. There's a huge gap between the two trains right now.
Yeah, there is a massive gap right there. You look at it, it's Mark kind of holding things up. 10.5. He's made up 6 positions, however, Mark. He hasn't just been sitting idly by. He's been doing a lot of work to try and make positions up. Remco Van Putten and Lars in exchange. There's a little bit of a penalty going there for the Dutchman. Meanwhile, Freeware and Noel. Look at this exchange coming out of the chicane. Freeware on the power now. He's side by side with Noel. We come through into turn 1. A little bit earlier on the brakes for Freeware as he's on that inside. Noel has that ability to go a little bit later, utilize that track that's deep there, and he just doesn't get it through, and Freeware's in. Meanwhile, Vincent and Verdex, well, I don't know what happened. Vincent gets through. Verdex has to take the, well, he made his own little off-road through there, a little bit of grass cutting as well.
Well, Striff, just to enlighten you, we'll wait a moment as Verdex has Domi up his inside, coming through 10, now into 11. Can Domi find a way around the outside? Yes, he can. I don't know if he just brushed the rule there on his way through, but he does get into 7th. But going back to that incident between Vincent and Verdex there, Verdex on the inside. Vincent just turned in a little too early into Les Combs, and Verdex did well to not spin the car all the way around, but had to snap it back. Had to go off the track like you mentioned, and then, you know, navigate his way through the off-track. Dropped not only to Vincent, but to Yagzio, and that opened him up to Domi as well. So loses a few positions, but does well to keep himself within this battle. But all of this is costing them time. Neon now sits 1.5 seconds ahead. His tires are going to last longer than that of Cody's, and he's up for a potential podium. Eruptions had a problem further down the grid in the Aston Martin. Don't quite know what's going on there, but we're seeing these problems of scars goes to Max O'Connor. Nice move from the South African.
Artek's out of this race. He retired heading up into a Rouge. Not through a Rouge or up at the top of the hill, but just coming through where we're about to see Vincent and his teammate Yags fly through. Just about here in the middle of the straight. And I don't know how he lost it. I don't know how that could have happened there with Artex, but he is now out of this race. Yags pushing on Vincent. It's an exchange between teammates now. Domi not close enough to take advantage, and I'll tell you something, Verdex is there through into 7th position. Domi later on the brakes. Very tight fighting here. Domi not thrilled about losing out position, but he's going to try and do what he can to hold back that 7th. He's showing good grip right now on the softs, and it's still very early. We're just about a quarter of the way through this campaign. We're here on lap 10 out of 44.
Yeah, Ben's taking lead of things as well, but he picked up a 3-second time penalty, and that's not likely. You don't see that a lot from Ben the Bear. And now up into 1st, but with that 3 seconds, that would relegate him all the way down to 3rd. There's another yellow flag. Eruption is out. That is on track. But that's in a pretty interesting spot. Does it cause a safety car here? There's no one around there. Remco. Oh, sorry, not Remco. Freeware. The other Red Bull will be first to the scene. I don't know whether we'll see it.
Oh, Domi with a big spin. That was so close. Verdex, amazing, amazing, absolutely amazing that he was able to avoid Domi there.
Yeah, and that's not the first time we've seen a spin through there, and we're not even at the rain. We are expecting rain towards the end of it. The clouds still holding through. We're a quarter of the way through the race now. As we get onto lap 11 of 44, it's a long campaign for these races. And the time that we spend here will be extended, depending on how much rain we get, because obviously that will slow the lap times down. Safety cars as well could extend it, and this really is... This is about as endurance as it gets, Striff, apart from a full wet race at Singapore, maybe.
Oh, don't... Yeah, that... you know, I don't even know if... I don't even know if I'd want to be casting that, to be very honest with you. Depending on how that one would go. I'd have to... You know, don't knock it till you try it, I suppose. I haven't done that one yet. I've driven a wet Abu Dhabi, though.
Well, something that we do like to see is an overtake and Mark getting Domi there. I think the mediums, I think that's just what we're seeing. The mediums starting to come alive a little bit, with the exception, well, of Richie, who has been caught by the soft runners after 10 laps. Obviously, these softs will last a little bit longer than you'd expect in a 50% race. They're scaled up back to where it was, as Domi coming back through.
A little bit of a bump there. A little bit of a bump there from Domi. Just a slight little gentle love tap, and now Mark back into 10th position on the rear of the Hungarian. Will be looking to push through again. As you said, these mediums, maybe they're getting this edge on the softs.
Freeways come off through Rouge and Radillion up at the top of the hill. And, well, that makes the Germans race go from bad to worse. And he might even lose a position. I think Larson's just a bit too far back to take advantage, but it will put him within striking distance.
Well, of course, if you're just tuning into the action, thank you for joining us. My name's Strifium here from Canada. Joining me is Unicorn here from the UK. And look at this. Noel Carlman, Mark. Bit of an issue there for Mark coming through the chicane. Noel Carlman gets through nice and easy. And now, well, looks like it's a bit of desync, actually, now that I look at it even closer.
Well, there's definitely ghosting when ghosting is off. So some sort of connection issue for at least one of the drivers. I don't know what's going on here. But the Alfa Romeo squad has worked out some sort of morphing technology to get both cars in the same space on track, as there's a problem for Larson, and that will alleviate any pressure from the rear of Freeware.
Mark looking at Domi once again here, wheel to wheel as we come through Lacombe. A little bit of contact and nothing to really write home about, as it's still wheel to wheel for the pair of these drivers, and they're coming down now into the right-hander. Mark on the outside. His teammate, Noel, sitting there as well. He doesn't want to really get held up in all of this battling, with Jean as well on the medium compound tires. Look at this now, wheel-to-wheel exchanging between these two. What's happened now? Vincent and Verdex.
Car crash.
What's happened to these three? Tuptus is there as well.
Tuptus, Vincent, and Verdex. I don't know how they've all come together, but they have. And well, that breaks up the front train quite substantially, and there's still a yellow flag. It's not for the drivers behind. But there is now another crash, and Tuptus is now front wingless. Just about off the track as well, but my goodness.
Verdex, Vincent, wheel-to-wheel still, crash or no crash. They're fighting it out all the way through, and Vincent has the outside right now as Ben the Bear. What's happened to him? Jeffrey Ritchie has taken advantage and gotten him for position. We want to give you all the action here, but man, is there
in front of them.
Ever a ton of... What happened there?
Larson's out. Larson and Remco have come together, and Larson's out through Rouge. You can see the McLaren on the right-hand side as the leaders come through. Verdex and Vincent exchange into turn one. And this race is getting crazier by the minute.
Tuptus retires in the pit lane. Vincent takes a 3-second time penalty, and there is a safety car deployed, and I'm wondering what this has been for.
It has to be for the McLaren, surely. It's not the first McLaren we've seen.
Hold on a second. Tuptus didn't retire in the pit lane. He crashed into the pit lane.
Well, this is great news for the soft runners, you would imagine. They can get off this quite comfortably. Mediums to the rain, I would think, is the strategy here for them. As for the medium runners, what do you do? Another set of mediums? Just pray for the rain?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't know what else you could do.
I think the people who are going to lose out here, Vincent, double stacked with his teammate potentially. Mark as well. We'll probably see the same for him if they choose to come in, of course. Mark could probably stay out, given that tire. Jean as well, maybe falling to the Williams of Domi in the double stack. As well, the penalty situation is quite something. I don't think anyone actually has a 5 seconds, unless Max O'Connor has one that he would serve. But yeah, Max O'Connor has one for corner cutting, interestingly enough.
I imagine Remco Van Putten everywhere potentially can catch up here. I think Remco Van Putten in a little bit of a worse situation.
Vincent has a 5 seconds as well, and he might get double stacked. He could get dropped quite substantially through the grid here, as we do see everyone come in, and a lot of soft drift. This is not what I was expecting. It depends how long the rain takes. That's a risky gamble. But when everyone's doing it, it's less of a gamble. If it doesn't work out, well, the Axial has this race in the bag. That's pretty much certain, unless of course he makes a mistake. But everywhere, a 3-second time penalty under safety cars, that's never what you want to do. But like you said, he's just trying to catch up, I think, here. He should have the opportunity to do so, but he doesn't want to take any chances. Vincent only drops to 10th place, so that's a nice way to get his 5-second penalty shaved off. But he still has that black and white flag there for 3 seconds, and, well, the timing tower looking a little bit less aggressive in terms of the numbers next to the drivers' names. Ben 3 seconds, Neon 6 seconds, Domi 6 seconds, Vincent 3, Max O'Connor and Mark and Jean all on 6 seconds. Freeware's on 12 seconds of penalties, and Remco Van Putten has 3. So a lot there. Everyone but Vincent and Yagziel have gone for the softs. Those two in the Ferrari on the mediums. Remco Van Putten, well, he could go for something here. He doesn't go for anything. He stays out, but I imagine he will come in maybe next lap and just take an extra lap on, without tyre wear. It's a risk because he might not be allowed to catch up to the safety car, but we'll see.
These races, when you have rain coming like this, it's very hard as a driver to make this call, I have to say. I mean, you don't know exactly when it's coming. It's an approximate weather forecast. Soft compound tires versus medium compound tires. Remco Van Putten hasn't been able to pit yet. He's still trying to catch up the field. It's really interesting. And they also don't know what kind of rain it's going to be. Is it going to be coming heavy immediately?
Well, yeah, we've seen that happen where it gets very quick as Noel seems to have had a disconnection. Hopefully we could get him back in here. But yeah, we've seen, my mind wanders to Austria, Jeff, where we saw the rain switch, so quickly in between different, variations, heavy, the track drying out and, back up to intermediates. It changes so quickly around Austria. Obviously, that's a very short lap. But here, if it changes, not necessarily as quickly, but if it changes, the lap's so long that if you make the wrong call, you could be sitting on the wrong tire for a minute and a half. Very easily. And that then gets elongated if you spin because you're on the wrong tire, you go slow because you're on the wrong tire, then you have to have your pit stop. And if someone makes the right call a lap earlier than you, it can throw your race. It's win or lose in those situations. So the end of this race is going to be absolutely critical. Right now, it looks pretty even with the exception of penalties. We'll see how the Ferraris do on the mediums. Remco as well. Well, he just needs to catch up, but I'm surprised he hasn't come in. Whether he does so now, well, I think the safety car is going to come in this lap, so that'll be an awful decision, I think. But his race has been not one of high quality. We should say he has not had the best start to this campaign, but there is still plenty of time for pretty much anyone to come back into this.
Remco Van Putten, 10 lap old softs. I mean, he's going to have not the best tires, but I wonder how he'll finish this race after a very up and down campaign.
Well, we're about a third of the way through when we've already lost a quarter of the drivers. Wisp, Artex, Eruption, Larsen, both McLarens out. And Tuptus as well. 5 drivers out, 15 remaining. The safety car right now leading the pack. But it is coming in right on cue. Race control recalls it to the pit lane. Oh, well, it's seen its fair share of action in real life at Spa today. Testing conditions. I wonder whether we'll need it later on in the race, but there we go. Richie just weaving, controlling the pace here, getting some temperature back in those tyres.
This restart absolutely critical here. Ben the Bear, he's had some good restarts around here. Ace Richie, or Jeffrey, as we're seeing him named today on the grid. Slowing things down now. Cody Lawrence third, Neon fourth, Yags in fifth. And surely out of this chicane, we have full throttle action. And there it goes.
Pretty much a perfect restart from Richie. Nothing there to, fault. Just gets the power on very nicely out of the chicane. Leaves everyone else in your dust and creates a nice gap. And Yagziel really is the cork in the ball here. Verdex right on his tail. And not only does Richie's restart hurt that, but the medium tires as well. And that just goes to credit Richie's restart, but Ben's pace and Ben's ERS usage is something that's going to cause a bit of a headache to the Dutchman as they come down towards Lake Com. Here goes Ben the Bear on the inside. It's too late on the brakes, though. And Richie comes steaming back past.
Wow.
That's a big mistake from Ben the Bear and something you don't always see. Noel is coming past Yagziel. He's back up to 6th after his mishaps earlier on in the race. He'll be happy with that. Domi gets past Scars, but again, deep into the corner. Amazingly manages to hold it and keep the South African at bay. But a very, very exciting restart and a pretty clean one at that.
That was a very nice move there, I have to say, by Richie. Just a good play from him. Switching back over on Ben. Ben went deep.
It's more just capitalizing the mistake there, because Ben, you don't usually see that from him, but he really made a mistake with how late he broke there. Richie, it was sort of a game of chicken, and Richie's definitely come out on top. Now leads by 6/10, but Ben, once again, his pace is incredible, and he's catching already as they come through Blanchimont, turn 18 as well. And he's getting, I think Richie's set up, I do believe Neon was talking about it earlier in the chat. Richie's running a lot of rear wing here, which might hurt his straight line speed. And Ben seems to be capitalizing on that.
Domi with a nice move there through the chicane. He gets Yag. Scars is going to be looking to take a position as well. The South African driver, he has the power and the traction on these softs right now to put himself alongside the Ferrari, up the inside of the Ferrari, and get the move. Max O'Connor, he is looking like he's in the same situation. Let's jump to the front of things now as Ben the Bear hunting down Richie. Oh, yes, he is, and it is going to be, again, a drag race into Lacombe. Now Ben the Bear leading this really, really hard push. This time we saw Jeffrey really finesse, but Ben there pushing through quite well. Mark and Vincent Nyquist wheel to wheel. Oh, there's a little bit of a snap there for Vincent. He gets things back on track. He comes in right on the rear of Freeware, and there's a spin. Wow.
He's just rushing to get back on, recover, and in doing so, in the rush, he's made another mistake, which compounds his problems. He could have just lost 2 places there, but instead he's lost 4. And let's just, he's made 1 mistake. It's caused him to panic, rush, and he's forced him to make another, and that's really unfortunate there. Jean, though, is going to gift one of those positions back by the looks of it, as he's made a mistake too in the Williams. He's coming through 13.
Does not appear to be any significant front end damage there. Nothing visible at the very least. Neon within half a second of Cody. Cody holding well with Richie, and Verdex is here as well, and right now 1 through to 5. Everyone locked in. A major train. And the Barrow 43.399, the fastest lap now of this Belgian Grand Prix. We're on lap 18 of 44.
Oh, Ben nearly broke DRS there. Richie pushing with ERS to make sure he stays within it. Vincent into the pit lane. We'll see what he does here in the Ferrari. But Richie does manage to hold on to DRS as they come down towards Lake Combs. The front 4 have broken away a bit, but Neon is going to challenge Cody for the top 3. Later on the brakes in the AlphaTauri. Cody's around, just about avoided by Verdex there. The Mercedes does well to get out of there. Noel comes through, Domi, Scars all come through as well, and there's a lot of cars behind him. And Cody doing well to hold on to what little he has led to the points, and Mark goes off as well. A brilliant 360. He bounced off and perfectly corrected himself. Yeah, I'm not seeing it either.
Look at this right now, freeware. Soft compound tires. Big issue there for him. Of course, we saw Yags, a neat move. Wrap around the outside. It's mediums versus softs, though, and freeware has that traction. Stepped his foot on that curb a little bit too much earlier, and that's what gave Yags that great run, but just a little bit too much pace for Yags in the softs to contend with right now. He's going to utilize a little bit of that battery to hold well. Mark coming into the pit lane after that issue up in Sector 2. And what's the decision from him?
Surely more softs at this point, just to get a little bit of pace advantage back. Neon's rear light is flashing. Verdex is low on battery as well. Richie and Ben, they've all burnt off this, but they're all separating out now. Obviously, Verdex still with Neon, but Richie 1.5 seconds down on Ben. Ben now starting to control this race on the front. A disappointing qualifying from him. Maybe not the best wet setup, but in the dry, he's really starting to tear away. His penalty might be problematic, but it's helped by Neon picking up one of his own. So the AlphaTauri now 3 seconds to his name. And when this comes down to the final, final few moments, those penalties will play a role. Richie right now would win if it was to finish like this, but he is dropping back to Ben the Bear. And now with the tires equalized as well, Ben is looking strong, and I've seen him pull gaps before when penalties are involved.
Well, that's exactly what he's going to be looking to do, is get that gap, get that 3 seconds. I mean, there's always potential that Richie can take a penalty himself. We aren't even at the full league race distance yet, which is generally 22 laps, and now we're going to be coming through to, of course, that halfway point in this race at 22 laps. There's a lot of potential with this grid for comeback drives, spins, mistakes. It's going to be a good race, and it's been a good race, a great race so far to this point. And as we say it, there's been another issue here, and this time Mark, he has had another accident in that Alfa Romeo, it would seem. Hopefully no damage this time around, and I'm a firm believer in rhythm. When you lose that rhythm, it can very much be difficult to find it again. Neon, Richie, here's an exchange between two friends as Richie will drop now to third position. Verdex is hunting down the Aston Martin now.
Domi and Noel as well exchanging in a similar fashion. Freeware and Max O'Connor do as well. Freeware looking for an incredible recovery time. Noel as well, and Domi too, all able to recover as a result of that safety car, obviously dropping off of the front view, but at the same time that safety car really affording them a second shot at points here. Richie dropping to Neon, a bit of a surprise there. They are still dropping substantially to Ben the Bear, and as this fight continues with Neon leading that 3-car train now, he's got a penalty. Ben will be happy to see that behind him, and as that fight slows them down even more, Ben can start to grab a gap and start to push.
Neon's just spun. Neon's just had a big issue. He's brought himself into the wall and taken off a front right end plate. He's dropped to 4th position now. Surely this is going to impact him massively. He is going to drop massive time to the cars ahead. Verdex right now, he's pushing on Richie.
Yeah, that's a surprising little mistake there. That will draw Neon out of that fight. Neon into the pit lane now. Just as mentioning that, well, that will free up Richie a little bit to go hunt down Ben. Obviously, Verdex is there in 3rd place. Team dynamics don't really play a role in the endurance race unless you've got 2 friends as teammates, which I don't think we have tonight. I don't think Verdex and Ben the Bear will be working together as a team unit, but the Verdex will be overtaking Richie down into Lacon, but he's got it well before the corner. A brilliant move by the Mercedes, and both drivers very low on battery. Ben still got battery in his tank. Noel gets Domi, just as Domi did the lap before. Scars looking up the inside, catches the curb, almost spins the Haas, but a great save there by the South African to keep himself in P6. But as we progress through, it is getting treacherous out there. What's happened here? Max O'Connor's had an issue, and Remco up into the top 10. His tires 16 laps old. He didn't pit under the safety car, as did most others. Let's see what happens with him. But right now, the Dutchman up into the points. Also pointing out the medium runners of the Ferraris. Well, Vincent's not on them anymore, and Yags has dropped to P9. That didn't work out for them.
No, not yet anyway. I mean, there's still time. for these softs to potentially die off and these mediums to gain an edge before we see rain, but time will tell. We haven't seen any raindrops as of yet, and we still don't even know if it's coming. We were given a forecast that there's potential rain. Max O'Connor really struggling here as we cross over to this halfway point in the race.
Yeah, halfway, but we might not be halfway in terms of time if rain starts to come. Like we mentioned earlier, it will stretch out the lap times, and as such, that's when things start to become a real endurance for the drivers, because right now we're past, we would be finished. We would have just finished when we crossed the line right there. That's how long most people will be used to going. Now, of course, it's all in that 100% territory. You don't do this unless you're doing one of these races, or in, you know, Richie's case, Neon's case, and Cody Lawrence's case, well, they've already done a 50% race, so they're going to go for 150% for everyone
Scars,
else.
Domi, Noel. Domi looks at Noel. Oh my, Domi into the wall. Oh, that is not good for the Hungarian. That was just all kinds of... Oh, man.
Never seen that before. I think he realized the Scars was on the inside there, so he went to pull out to get on the inside of Noel, and then realized Scars was there, snaps left, and it's exactly what I mentioned in qualifying with Eruption, who didn't snap to avoid freeware. That snap in sheer panic just unsettles the car, loses the rear, and Domi now struggling with an end plate missing. That's exactly what happens when you lose your cool, and it just takes a split second, and it's a real problem for you. The two Haas drivers, though, now up into 5th and 6th. They'll be happy about it.
This race has really presented us with some very interesting situations. Of course, Domi is going to be so frustrated with that because he was looking for Noel, and he had Scars there, but now he's in 9th position. I mean, he's got damage. You can see the front left end plate is missing. He comes in here. Yeah. But what tires does he get on? Softs, surely? If we're going to see rain, I mean... what a tough call.
Yeah, it's tough, especially at this stage of the race. You don't want to make the wrong call, especially depending on how long rain is around the corner. Everyone said the end of the race. We don't know how accurate that was. Does Scars find Noel here down into Lake Comet? Sure as hell looks like it will be. And absolutely the pace difference. Well, Noel late on the brakes. That was done and dusted for Scars until Noel did that. Brilliant defense by the Swedish driver to hold on to P4 for another lap. As there's a yellow flag, it's Max O'Connor. He's out through Rouge.
That's a safety car.
That's exactly where we saw Larsen come off. And like you mentioned, it's a safety car.
Wow. So, ooh, Domi.
Oh, Domi.
Oh, he is so lucky.
To not be out.
He is so lucky, this guy. Why on earth? He's lost a position.
Yeah, it's...
Does he have damage? Does he have damage? I mean, surely he's got to have damage. He just drove into a wall.
It doesn't look like it, though. These damage settings are, shall we say, inconsistent. They always seem to provide, you know, Neon's spin, I would say, was nowhere near as bad as that, and he lost an end plate for it.
That was a very wild encounter. That was a big yikes. What a race this has been. We're past the halfway point. I mean, Remco, if you're Remco, you're thrilled.
Well, absolutely. He has been given a huge opportunity to get back into this, but he hasn't pitted. He is still going on these softs. Maybe in a hope for rain, but surely, maybe he's just giving it another lap. But I said that last time and he didn't come in. He is still going.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. Gonna be interesting to see how everyone kind of. I want to see the rain. I want, like, the fact that we don't know when the rain is coming.
It's gonna be. We don't know. I don't know if the drivers know. I don't know if there's someone in the chat who's engineering here, but it's on. It's set to rain at the end, but we don't know when the end is in terms of the dry. It could be 4 laps from the end. It could be 14 laps from the end. We're 20 laps from the end now, but it's all up in the air. It's anyone's race.
Lap 24 out of 44 safety car. Let's take a look at the position changes throughout. Ben the Bear and Verdex up 8 positions and 1 position. Jeff Ritchie, he's dropped back 2 from pole. Noel up 2. Scars, he has moved up 9. Cody and Yagswell down 2 each. Remco Van Putten, he's up 5. We have Freer there, he's down 1. Neon's sitting in 10th. Vincent down 9, John up 5, Mark up 3, Domi down 3, and then we have 6 retirements there. Max O'Connor, Tuptus, Larsen, Eruption, Artex, and Wisp.
Yeah, actually, I'm still on the mediums. 9 lap old. Obviously, he's got Remco behind him, but freeware on those fresh softs. I'd expect him to be a bit of a headache for both of the drivers ahead. As well as Neon. He's had great pace tonight. Obviously, that spin a few laps ago cost him here, but this safety car bringing him in. It's raining, Schiff. It is raining, and how quickly do the conditions change? And if we were at the back, if you're Domi, you just gamble for intermediates right now.
Remco Van Putten smiling, surely.
Well, he's smiling, but I think he could just make it. It depends how quickly it's going to get wet here, but if the safety car comes in this lap, he's got nothing to. He's coming in, Striff. This is good news for the Hungarian. If this works out, this is unbelievable. Because if the safety car comes in this lap, if he can catch up quickly, it's gonna be a slow out lap because it's still dry at the moment. But it depends how quickly it gets wet here. It's not raining heavily right now. It's soft. I don't think he thinks it's going to get wet fast enough, and he's going for the softs so that he's faster than the mediums, and he knows that it's not long till the rain's coming or until the inters are coming because the rain's already here.
I think this is an alright call. I think this is an alright call.
We would have liked the intermediates for the drama, but from Domi's point of view, I can see why.
No matter what
why
position,
the soft is the right call.
No matter what position he's in the bottom position. So he goes, okay, do I want fresh softs? Do I want fresher softs? Do I want fresh mediums? Or do I want to really, really, really gamble and go onto those intermediate compound tires? So he's picked the softs. Then he can cut himself potentially through into the field where he sees, of course, all the way up to Remco Van Putten on the similar tire. And if he's able to do that, or even catch some of those drivers like Ben the Bear on the older softs out, it does. I think this is his best choice. I think this is his best option.
Well, it's just a matter of time. Who pulls the trigger first? Water already looking like it might be forming on track. The track is starting to get a little bit of a shine to it. I wouldn't call them puddles yet, but it's getting wet, that's for sure. And, well, I don't think it's long till intermediates, Jeff. I give it 3 laps at most.
Ben's coming straight in. Yeah.
Yeah, they all are.
So they're all coming in. Everyone's sliding through the pit lane.
Verdex. That was a very big slide, and he's going to get double stacked, as is Cody. Imagine if Domi had gone for the intermediates, like I said. He would be first right now. Well, maybe not first, but well, he is first, but that's because he hasn't pitted.
Yeah, he hasn't come in. He hasn't come in.
What is he doing?
You know,
Everyone else is going to catch the train, surely. And the safety car's going to come in, and he's going to be a lap down.
this
pretty
is
much.
a
Well, half a lap
very,
down.
very interesting call. I thought, we thought he had made a good call. Then the entirety of the grid, they come in, of course, and they come in with these intermediate compound tires. And this is just bizarre. Bizarre.
If he'd have come in for the Inters and gambled last lap, he would be... Well, he might not be here, but he would have been close. He would have been right back in the action. Oh, boy. Domi's got his work cut out for him now. Surely now he has to come in for the pit. It just dropped right to the back.
Wow. Just a very... Oh, what an upside down race this has been now.
He nearly spun the car now. He is going to struggle to make a lap if he does not pit this lap. He throttled it out of turn 11 and nearly spun the car. So he really needs to consider coming into the pits lane, which would drop him to 14th place, but it's better than DNFing.
Safety car surely going to be coming in this lap as it crosses over into this third sector. There we have it. Safety car. Oh my God.
Well, there he goes. Well, that's decision made, because now he won't lose any positions. But he is pretty much done, and without another safety car, that is race over for him.
That was a very tough sight to watch for me. I was on board. Oh, that was the view, I think, to get of that. And here we have it now. Jeffrey Ritchie, Scars, Yags, your top three. Jeffrey Ritchie, a big slide, a huge slide, and somehow a 5-second penalty to Scars. What's happened on the rear of them? Neon into the wall. What the heck? There's a car out.
Huge crash. There's more than one car, Striff. There's about 3. Neon's out of the race. Cody and Vincent have come off with him. One Domi's just having a nice little trundle into the pit lane.
Wheel to wheel right now with Ben the Bear as we come up through Eau Rouge. Was it ever tight? Ben the Bear, 4th position for him. 13 drivers in this session remaining, some of them with damage, some of them without, but wow, is it ever tight?
That is unbelievable. And, well, as they come through, they come here. Remco Van Putten looking for a way past Ben the Bear, who makes a mistake coming out of turn 9 and just almost lets Remco through there. It's an interesting decision from Ben. I think his setup now might be coming back to bite him, because we saw him not perform well in qualifying in the dry. He really started to bring it to everyone else. This safety car came out at an awful time for him, because it's eaten away the lead he picked up in the dry, and now he might fall through this grid as Vincent has a problem. And he's behind Domi, Jean, Verdex exchange. Verdex ahead, coming through into 13. And I think we're seeing a big battle of setups here as well, Striff, now. Because now that Richie is back in the wet, obviously the slide coming out of the bus stop chicane on the restart was a little bit of a worry. But he has pulled out 2.3 seconds to the car behind. I think that setup is set up perfectly for the wet. And obviously the dry he didn't perform badly in. But Ben, he performed absolutely staggeringly in the dry, is not performing well here in the wet.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Yags right now tight to the rear of Scars. Verdex around the outside, just ever so carefully looking at Noel. Noel squeezing him off just a touch right now. Verdex really tight to the rear of the Alfa Romeo. Does he send it into turn 1? Yes, he does. Later on the brakes, the Mercedes. Does he get this lunge through? Is there enough traction on the exit? Noel's still there. Verdex gets the move done. Very nice. Very nice. It was a risk, but he gets the move. Remco Van Putten just ahead of them. Yags looking at... Well, Remco looking at Yags just behind Noel, and Verdex still exchanging.
It's going to be tight here, does Noel. We've seen him brave on the brakes into Lake on before. He tries it, but he can't risk too much, and he knows that And he might have even put a little bit too much on the line there. Behind them, his teammate Mark looking for Jean, and he might just find him out of turn 9 here. He does. A great move there. Just lined him up, coming through Lecom, and that is a beautiful move from Mark in the Alfa Romeo, making it 7-8 for them. It's 5-6 for the Mercedes squad.
Remco, Jags, they were quite tight coming down the hill. They're still quite tight. Third position up for grabs right now for the Dutchman. Things are very, very intense here as we're in the wet conditions now. The moves, every move taken, every opportunity or risk taken is kind of given a little bit of extra intensity with the rain conditions, especially with those big dives like what we saw coming out of Vertex on Knoll.
Yeah, all of this, it's going to culminate in a crazy finish. The rain is still coming down, and Steph, I wonder how long it is until we see wets, because I think it's a matter of when rather than if. Remco has a little look into the bus stop chicane. It's not the first time he's done that. Last time it went pretty poorly, though, at the beginning phase of the race, and caused quite a few chaotic corners for a good chunk of the grid. This time, nothing bad happens. Yagziel having a little lock up into turn 1. But everyone just... They're handling the rain well, but Jeffrey Ritchie is handling it brilliantly, as I'm starting to lose the ability to speak.
Here goes Yags. Yags pushing. He's got Scars sized up. He looks to the inside now on the Kemmel straight as we come through into Lecom now. Rain conditions. Nothing out of the Ferrari just yet. Remco holding station within 3/10 behind.
Yeah, it's hard to just keep this going. Scars nearly loses it, and Remco, he tries to find it up the inside of Yagziel, who had to slam on the anchors for that one.
Wow.
And Remco muscles his way through. Brilliant opportunistic move. Scars his mistake, holds up Yagziel, and Remco Van Putten just says thank you very much and takes 3rd place and puts himself on the podium at the moment. Penalties, of course, will play a role. He's got 3 seconds. Scars has 8. Vincent's out. That's in the pit lane, though, it would seem. The Ferrari driver had a mistake on the lap after the safety car restart.
What a race we've seen coming out of the Dutchman, Mr. Remco Van Putten today. Of course, we've got Mr. Ritchie there. Also, another Dutchman on the grid. A few of them in the MRL, Neon as well. But of course, Scar is quite wide off there, and Remco looking for that P2. He's had a very wild race. Look at this. A little bit later on the brakes, he's still... What a move coming out of Remco Van Putten, parking his car alongside the South African, who's later on the brakes into turn 1. Scars a little bit later through. He slides a touch. Remco looking for the exit. Scars is back through into 2nd. And what a fight we are having between Scars in P2 now and Remco Van Putten. This is what you love to see, a slight tap there. 3-second time penalty for Scars, getting shaken up. Remco just right on the rear.
Yeah, no DRS now as they come down to Lecom, and well, Remco's not going to risk a dive there, but he is still tight to the rear of this Haas, and he's looking to find a way through. Doesn't find it through there. But patience now is going to be a virtue. Just 5.3 seconds to Ritchie. He goes into the rear of Scars. And well, that's a bump and go if I've ever seen one. But he does get through. Scars will not be happy about that, and you've got to say.
Yeah, Remco there. A little bit of contact. Tense in it right now. Yags, he wants all of this, and you have to keep in mind penalties at play here. Scars, 11 seconds on the board for him through this race. Not where you want to find yourself in such a strong position. 11 positions gained for him and Remco Van Putten through this campaign, the 2 largest gains in this race. Yags, no penalties, looking like he could be in it for a potential podium.
Yeah, Vertex 2 behind him. A couple of these drivers getting a bit shaky outside these corners. Vertex looking at the inside of the bus stop chicane. Has a little bit of a lock up though, and that could be a problem here for the Mercedes as he's side by side with the Ferrari coming out of the final corner. He doesn't have the exit he needs. He does have the inside line though, down into turn 1, and Verdex just holding on here for P4, and he does sneak past the Ferrari as they come out of turn 1.
Yeah, it's not over yet, though. Most definitely not over yet. Remco Van Putten has added a 3-second time penalty to his total for the evening. Yeah, is he going to do anything about Verdex here? Not looking likely just yet. Nothing into the chicane.
Oh, Remco spun!
Oh my!
Remco's gone!
That is not good at all. Cody Lawrence just barely getting by him there. Ben the Bear, Noel Carlman. What's happened with Ben the Bear here? It would appear he's just dropped a couple of positions.
Well, he might have had to avoid Remco. He was right on the apex there, coming out of turn 9. There was really not a lot of space. His car stopped in the perfect position, but with very little margin for error from everyone behind. So I'm impressed that everyone's been able to avoid the Red Bull there, to be honest. That could have been race over for pretty much everyone here, with the exception of Richie and Scars.
Richie just took 3 seconds. So that's not good for him, especially once Verdex potentially, well, we'll have to see what happens. Verdex looking to clear Scars right now, 3/10 less the gap.
Yeah, I think Verdex and Yaxiel right now in the best positions, with the exception of Richie. That 3 seconds won't cost him too much unless he makes a mistake on the strategy further down the line. The rain does seem to be easing up a little bit. I thought we were going to go to wets. Now I'm wondering whether we go back to slicks. Ben the Bear drops again. Does he have invisible wing damage? Jean, Freeware, side by side behind him.
Yeah, this might get really, really out of shape coming up the hill here. We're going to follow along with the Yags in just a moment's time to see if he has enough juice to get Verdex. And there's been a yellow flag, and that is going to be the retirement of Domi in the pit lane. John hunting down Freeware. I don't think we're going to see it ahead of them, and we're not, as John now nothing doing just yet for any of these racers.
Yeah, patience. Verdex looking at Scars through turn 10, not finding anything there though, and this gap for this fight for P2, it's got a lot of cars in it. You can firmly say it's got 3, and there are, or 4 actually, including Noel. Mark isn't too far off it either, and he's got Ben the Bear, Freeware, and Jean tailing as well. This midfield fight with the outliers being Richie and Remco in 1st and 11th. Everyone else is still glued in a train, and we don't have DRS. Mark is out of 1 second, so even if we did, there would be the grip break there, but with everyone else not having it, it's not costing them too much here, and the fighting is keeping everyone from running away here. Jeffrey Ritchie, though, definitely in the best position in this race.
Yeah, he's having a really good drive today. Verdex looking good at the rear of Scars. We've had a yellow flag. Remco Van Putten has had, once again, another issue
Verdex
here.
with a massive dive. Verdex with a massive dive up the inside into the bus stop chicane. And Yaxiel might take advantage of Scars as well here as they come out of it. Down towards someone.
Oh!
What's going to do? And the has into the wall.
That is a huge crash into the wall there for Scars. Remco Van Putten nowhere near close enough to take advantage. I don't know if there's big damage there. Right end plate is off for the South African, and that is just not what you want to see happen at all. Lap 33 of 44, we're officially 3/4 of the way through.
Yep, and it's going to continue like this for some time. And just in it there, a mistake. Drops Scars out of the train. If he can catch up, maybe he finds something at the end, but right now it looks like 1 point at most as a few drivers slip coming through turn 9.
3-second time penalty for Scars there, adding insult to injury. Of course, if you're enjoying the race, if you've enjoyed any of the action over the near 4 hours we've been going, we've had the Champions Division today and 33 laps of contention here in Spa as well for the Endurance Series. My name is Trifium, and joining me is my good man, Mr. Unicorn, over from the UK, and we have racing all week long. So make sure you hit that follow button if you haven't already, as we will be back Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 8 p.m. British Summer Time, and that's 9 p.m. for those of you in Central Europe for Tier 4 racing action around Russia for Round 3 of the Misfits Racing League Season 5.
Yeah, in Russia. Personal favorite of mine in the games. Obviously, real life a little bit trickier, but in the games it always sparks up some drama. Remco gets past Scars there, so he does take advantage of the incident. Obviously, the end plate missing is what's costing the Haas there, and he's had to do an entire lap without that. And now a pit stop on top of it. We might see a retirement in the pits, given the disadvantage that will put him at. Obviously, a safety car could bring him into it, though, so it's worth sticking around. And points still very much available for him. He is into the pits. And it's speeding into the pit lane, and that is always a telltale sign for just that. The retirement there. Manually in the pit lane. We go to half the grid left with 10 laps to go.
Well, definitely a step up from how things went for the grid when they raced Hungary previously.
Well, there is that. There is always positives to take from this. There is the yellow flag just being called out for the Haas, which already has disappeared, which is lovely. It won't cause any problems. Was the train starting to fall apart a little bit. Everyone now from in the top 4 sort of separated from one another. Mark, though, is still under pressure from behind. Ben the Bear, his setup really isn't cut out for this wet weather. You can tell he's struggling. You can just see the pace difference from when he was on the dries and now in the wet. Shame in qualifying, just underperformed there. Blitzed through the grid at the start of the race and is now slowly trickling back through. Still doing well, though. Still in 6th place, which is up from where he started. He started 9th. Mark, though, up 11. He's having a stellar race, but has a lot of penalties to his name. And hasn't been without issue either. I should mention that he has had a couple of spins here and there, but still being in this race at this point is enough to qualify a good race in most people's books.
Tight gaps all throughout the grid. Jeffrey Ritchie leading things, of course. Penalty to his name, 3 seconds is how much he has there. And Verdex 7.6 the gap in 2nd. Starting to break away nicely from Yags in 3rd. And they're looking quite set to have themselves a solid podium unless Noel and Mark have anything to say about it. The 2 Alfa Romeos running 4 and 5 within 1 second of another within that large train all the way down to 9. Cody Lawrence, no penalties. He is looking to net quite a significant number of positions. As we take a look at the penalties, we take a look at Ritchie at the top. Again, 3 seconds for him. Noel Carlman, he's got 5 seconds. Mark with 12. We've got Ben the Bear, he's got 3 seconds. So he isn't going to drop as much as those 2 in front of him. And then it's Freeware and John, 18 and 12 seconds apiece. With Cody, no penalties. Remco Van Putten, 14.5 seconds on the rear of Cody. He has 6 seconds. So, not the best situation for penalties right now if you are one of the 7 drivers to have them. And there goes Ben the Bear. That's a huge issue. Freeware, Ben the Bear, big contact. Oh my God.
And as a VSC, well, that helps Cody once again to hop past a couple of people who were on penalties. Now everyone's got to do well to avoid a drive-through here. They get a drive-through penalty. That is going to cost them monumentally. But is there damage on any of those cars that were involved in that? Well, Freeware's missing a front wing, so I think we can safely say yes for the Red Bull. Ben looks unscathed. Jean, what's happened to the Williams? He's missing an end plate, so Ben the Bear definitely getting out of that one the best. Jeffrey Ritchie's shift is gone for full wets. That's a gamble and a half.
pouring
He
right
is
now.
sacrificing lead of this race for the wets. It does look like it's raining heavier than it was 5 minutes ago, but a lot of other drivers haven't done it. He has got 8 laps to overtake Noel, Yaxiel, and Verdex. But on top of that, he has to overtake Yaxiel and Verdex and pull a 3-second gap.
It's bold. It's a very bold call. We'll see what kind of pace these tires unlock. Well, look at this. A lot of drivers for the wets. A lot of them.
Well, he's gaining through Nacon or Noel quite a lot, so this might have been the right call for the Aston Martin. And if it is, well, that's brilliant news. Because maybe if one of the guys without the penalty had done it, it would have been a different story. But they haven't. And yeah, he's caught half a second in less than a sector here, so...
Oh, look at the rain now. You just see him in the rear. No, you can see the spray coming up off the tires. It's going to be significant. And now at these wets, look at the pace. I think he made the perfect call at the perfect time. And credit to him. Look at this. We've seen it before in some of these wet conditions races. I think back actually notably to a wet race we had here in Spa where Damon Plays did something similar. He was on the right tires at the right time, managing himself a position through the grid. Noel under huge threat. Absolutely.
Yeah, tires at the right time. You know, the famous Stoltzman charge last season. Obviously, a little bit different scenario in Hungary, but still the right tires at the right time. There goes Noel. It's all about strategy in, you know, these late deciding moments. That VSC and that quick strategy call there from Richie. Well, it's worked out beautifully. Verdex has stayed out. Well, that's a mistake, if ever I've seen one. The only thing I think he's got going for him here, he doesn't have a penalty, and if he can stay ahead of everyone else with them, he might not drop a lot through this grid. But there's pit stops coming in through for most of the other drivers. Yaxiel coming out in third. That's a pretty good position for him. He should now finish second, I think, as a result of this. Although he is far down on Verdex. There is a long, long way, 21 seconds. But the pace Richie had on the wets might prove otherwise. But if Verdex can make it work... Oh, no, he can't. He is sliding all over the place.
Mark and Yags right now, a big fight coming into Lacombe right now. Mark showing amazing pace on the full wets, and look at that. He pushes through on the Ferrari. 15 seconds, however, for Mark. But a good move there on track to get a little bit of time on camera, a little bit of action there. Now we have another fight between the pair of them as Yags. Mark goes a little bit deep. Yags looking for the outside, back through. Nice battle.
Yeah, this is holding up Yaxiel, which means that Verdex gets helped ever more. The gap's still crumbling down. It's now 19 seconds to Mark. But this is going to be interesting. It's going to come down to the last few minutes, unless, of course, Verdex spins. And he is struggling, that's for sure. But it's still a lot of seconds in not a lot of laps. And if the rain dissipates at any point, you know, if it starts clearing up again in the next 2 or 3 laps, and it switches back to where the inters become more usable, but the wets I don't think will be unusable at any point, but the intermediates, they might come back into their own a little bit. And if they do, well, Verdex, they're old, which is another disadvantage he has. They should make it to the end, and he's got quite the gap right now. It's dropping, but it's not necessarily dropping fast enough, at least for Mark. Richie might be able to do something. The real gap here is if Yaxiel can do something about it.
Mark right now, a little bit of a slip on the exit here. Yags and him, they're going to continue to do this dance. Just a confidence lift as they come up Eau Rouge here. Great pressure right now, great speed in the Ferrari. The Alfa Romeo now, ooh, off to the left-hand side. Is there any kind of opportunity here? Freeware has made... Oh my God, Ben the Bear and Freeware.
And as I say, oh my goodness, Jean went into him. Jean went into Ben. And that is an end plate missing for the Williams. And that's a safety car on lap 38. Verdex, well, that's the race. Well, it's not race over, but that's a huge problem for him because that gap is going to get eaten up. And, well, he can get onto the wets. I don't know whether he can get onto the wets, though, before Yagdiel comes through. It's not even really going to be close, I don't think. I think he is just going to lose out here.
Wow. Wow, what a campaign this has been. I don't know what to say there. So Freeware had an issue, and the bear crashing behind him, and then Jean got collected and all that. Verdex coming in, surely, and Richie's going to stay out. Mark, everyone... Oh man, this race has really been flipped on its head. Like something there.
Verdex in. Obviously onto the wet tyres. The other two, Mark and Yagziel, coming into bus stop now. He will get out ahead of them. This will chew down his gap. And it might even open him up to a fight, and that causes problems in these conditions. Obviously now he's on the right tyre. Richie's pace, though, we've seen that all evening long. He should be able to extend the 3-second gap, depending on how many laps he's got left.
Eight drivers. We have Jeffrey Ritchie, Verdex, Mark, Yags, Cody Lawrence, Noel Carlman, Remco Van Putten, and Jean. The penalties are 3 seconds for Ritchie, 15 seconds for Mark, 6 seconds for Remco Van Putten, 22 seconds for Jean. And what a scary finish to this race we have seen.
Yeah, as we come through, it won't be long. I think Jean, well, he might extend this for one more lap. Remco Van Putten with a little bit of a problem. We'll try and get him back in the session before the safety car ends, hopefully. But we'll see. Verdex P2, we'll never know whether he would have been able to finish out this race on the inters in the way that he was hoping to do so. But he's now going to face pressure from behind, that's for sure. Go Van Putten rejoining, you'll have to see it.
What a long evening of racing action we've had, and a lot of great racing action at that. Of course, we had the Champions Division earlier through the Netherlands, and now we have our Belgian Grand Prix coming to its end as we go around one more time behind safety car.
Remco's gone in. Remco is in. I don't know whether 2 laps is going to do anything for the tyre, or 3 laps. It is just fresh wets. Why not? I guess, why not? I don't think it'll make a huge difference, but there's no harm in trying because he's not going to lose out anything. Sean's not going to get him. It doesn't look like it was Remco's decision. Seems like an AI might have done that, but there we are. Fresh wets for the Dutchman as we come on to it's lap 40. Hopefully we go green on 41. And then we'll have 4 laps of green flag racing, including 41.
All right. What a campaign. 40 laps out of 44. We're going to be going green surely here on lap 41. 4 laps to the end.
Well, hopefully the safety car comes in. Last time we saw Richie restart, he did it pretty much perfectly. There was a Mercedes behind him then, but it was Ben the Bear who's now out of this one. This time it's Verdex in P2. And this safety car, well, it's either going to be a blessing or a curse. It's put him on the right tires, but it's put him back in the pack. Mark, well, he's behind him. He will be able to apply pressure, but he's got 15 seconds of penalties. And if he can keep the likes of Yagzio and Cody Lawrence behind, then that's going to help Verdex. If he overtakes, well, then Verdex is in for real trouble.
When does Richie hammer down here? That safety car coming into the pit lane very shortly here. Biding his time.
He's really slowing this down. I expected at a bus stop, but is he going to throttle down into bus stop? Surely not. It would be
Risky. I think that
it would be very unexpected. He'd catch a lot of people off guard, I think, but I'm surely it's going to be right about now, you would expect, as he comes out. And oh, there he goes. Well, no, he's not. He's sort of half throttled. Mark's gone into the wall, and that is a crash off the bat. He's not out. Again, that car seems to be bulletproof, but he has lost a front wing this time. Cody side by side with Noel, and he's going to lose not one but 2 positions if Remco Van Putten can find the traction, which he can't.
That was a very intense restart right there. Mark not going to be happy about the fact that he was collected. No front wing left on that Alfa Romeo. What a race start, though, or race restart here. Lap 41. Look at this race on the rear of Noel Carlman coming into Lacombe just ahead. Richie and Verdex, they've exchanged right now. It's a 3-way fight for mid positions here. Very tight. Ooh, Cody Lawrence and Remco. Elbows out there, a bit of a slide.
Well, Verdex also got Richie into, I think, coming through turn 1, to be honest, because it didn't happen into Lacombe. But he is leading now and could win this race. Without that 3-second time penalty, Jeffrey Richie would be hard-pressed to find the win now.
That's saying that there was some kind of illegal overtake involved there. A little bit of a tap coming out on Richie there. Remco holding Noel. What's happened behind? That's Mark still struggling. Of course, he's got no front wing. Cody Lawrence, Remco Van Putten. There's a contact. There's a spin. Oh, man. Remco Van Putten really struggling to get that back around. And I don't know what to say about that. I don't know if that was him trying to hold and squeeze over Cody Lawrence or... Big mistake coming out of the Dutch driver there, though, in the Red Bull in these conditions.
Well, he's down into 7th now. I don't think he'll lose 7th, but I don't think he'll get any higher than 7th. Unless someone ahead retires. And, well, Remco's had a problem through bus stop in the Red Bull, and he will not be happy about that, but I don't think it changes too much. It might put him under pressure from Mark, who's into the pit lane for any front wing. Everyone else is taking it so carefully as Mark retires just 2.5 laps before the end of the race. No front wing. That would be pretty demoralizing, but of course, points are still on. All he had to do was bring it home.
Seven racers remaining here in the race with 3 laps to go. We're on 42 of 44. Penalties in it for some of these drivers. Richie with 3 seconds, John with 20, and Remco with 6. And it's really a battle right now between Yags, Richie, and Noel. Well, Verdex, of course, you can't forget about him, but this penalty is gonna really hurt Richie.
Yeah, and this restart didn't go his way. He didn't get it quite as he did last time. Those fresher wets maybe gave Verdex a little bit of help, as obviously there's some sort of illegal overtake glitch as well that hasn't helped the Aston Martin here, according to the chat. And well, all of that combined is going to lose him the race win. It might lose him the podium. Right now he would drop off. I don't know whether he can extend a gap to Noel here to keep 3rd place, but it's going to be close. The gap right now about 2.5 seconds, so it looks feasible for him to be able to extend that gap and keep at least 3rd. Remco Van Putten another 3 seconds. That's not going to play too much into the end of things, I don't think. It might just stop him gaining a place on Jean, who has a whole host of penalties, but even then, I don't think it would change anything. Yaxiel under a little bit of pressure here from Noel, but it won't change down into 7.
It's in 3/10 the separation, of course, between these two, Noel and Yags. An ultimate lap of the race, and Remco Van Putten has still not been able to get things under control in this car.
Yeah, very much had a tough race, but he's kept going. To his credit, he has not given up. But
I think he's given up.
Maybe he has, because he's off in a Rouge now as well.
Yeah, he's given up. So I'd love to see it if Remco could retire in the pit lane. It would be great.
As the rest of them still keep going up at the front. 1 lap, 1 sector to go. It's not long now. It's been a long campaign, specifically for Richie and Cody, who have been here since the start of the stream. They've done a full qualifying session, a 50% race around Zandvoort. They've done a short qualifying session, and now, well, they will have done a 100% race around Spa as well. Noel getting very close to the rear of Yaxiel. They're nearly hitting the rear of the Ferrari.
Final lap of this race. Verdex coming out of turn 1 right now. Less than a second the gap between him and Richie, albeit a penalty. I don't know what this will end like. These drivers, I imagine, going to be pushing with everything they can to get it done on track.
Well, Yaxiel needs to try and stay within 3 seconds of Richie here. Noel, it looks like he's going to be unable to. There is a potential podium there for him. It's close right now. A mistake from Richie. It doesn't have to be a big one. It could just be a slight slide of the rear. Cost him half a second. Wouldn't cost him anything on track, but it would cost him a podium overall. So we'll see how it goes. But we're all waiting for the checkered flag now. Verdex, well, as long as he can get through the last 1.5 sectors, that's all he needs to do, and the race win is his. The safety car, it looks to me that it was going to be bad. It's actually, well, saved his race. It was looking like it would have been no more than P2. Now it's looking like a comfortable win. Yaxiel drops to 3 seconds. Richie might be able to hold on to P2 here. What a great last lap it's been from the Dutchman. Obviously no fastest lap on offer given the changeable conditions we've seen, but as we approach the line
really
now,
dumping
they're
that
coming
battery.
through Blanchimont.
He's dumping all of that battery right now and pushing on the rear of Verdex very well. Coming to the chicane right now. Just sliding through the chicane for these two drivers, but it is going to be Verdex to the line to take the checkered flag here after 44 laps in Spa, and then to the line it's going to be Yags taking it ahead of Cody Lawrence and Noel. Jean now. I think he spun.
Yeah, a little problem there over the line, and last but not least, it will be Remco. We got to wait for him to navigate his way through the circuit. Noel, he got dropped there on a 5 seconds that I think his AI picked up when he disconnected. So I don't know whether he can get that one removed. He didn't serve it, so potentially still keeping his P4 there. Cody, though, great race from him to keep it penalty free. So if Noel doesn't get that penalty removed, he will keep that P4. So P4 right now a little bit contested until after the race, I think. But Verdex, what a drive from him, you've got to say. A very, very confident P1. The strategy, it was bold, it was brave. And in the end, well, the risk paid off. And he beats Richie here, who looked very, very quick in this wet conditions. But a little glitch, that penalty, all came to ruin his chance of a win. P2 for the Dutchman.
Very long campaign. Very long campaign. 7 finishers in this campaign. Remco van Putten really having issues today in that Red Bull.
Absolutely.
Big issues in that Red Bull.
Well, that wraps it up, Sean. Driver of the day. Most positions gained. That's what the game will award it for. But there is Verdex. And raising his trophy aloft. P1 for the German. The Dutchman, Richie, just loses out there. Not by much, but by just enough. In the end, that safety car changed the race quite a lot in the last few laps. And, well, Richie will not be happy, but Verdex certainly will be. Third place for Yaxiol in the Ferrari. No penalties for Verdex, Yaxiol, Cody Lawrence, who finishes 4th ahead of Noel, who might be able to get that one back due to a glitch with the penalties or something. So we'll see what the stewards have to say about that. Then there's a lot of penalties elsewhere on the grid, but Jean finishes P6 from 17th on the grid. Just goes to show what finishing these races can do for you. Remco van Putten, despite his issues today, 13th to 7th. And Mark, well, he got +4 laps, so I think he's actually classified as a finisher, 16th to 8th, but he did retire in the closing stages. Freeware, P9, but he didn't finish. Ben the Bear as well, both of they crashed in Eau Rouge, I do believe, if not at the start of the lap. Scars, Domi, Vincent, Neon, and, well, that closed me out pretty quickly there. So we won't see everyone else, but my goodness, that was a long one. That was...
Yeah, it definitely was a long
dramatic
one there. Definitely. And a very up and down, very dynamic campaign in Spa as well. A lot of drivers really struggling in the conditions there. A lot of interesting stuff that we saw in that race. I mean, we're going to get interviews in a moment with a couple of the drivers that finished out in that one. And then we'll wrap things up. Actually, I don't think anyone's in there for an interview right now. So I think we're just going to move on ahead and wrap things up for the end of the evening after such a long, great broadcast. 4 hours of racing action here, and just over 4 hours of racing action here. My name is Stryfium. I'm going to pass it on over to Unicorn to close things out for tonight's endurance racing action. But I am very, very excited to move on into round 3 of MRL this coming week with Russia.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, it's been not only an endurance in terms of the race we've just witnessed, but an endurance for us and to anyone who stuck around for the whole stream. Obviously, we started out with the Champions Division earlier on, rounding out our week's action in the Netherlands. A very exciting Zandvoort race, finishing with just 1,000th, between the top 2, which we've seen throughout the week. We saw it in Tier 4 as well. So if you want to watch any of the highlights or race replays from this week or any week, go and check out our YouTube channel. But Tier 4, well, that kicks off again on Monday with Russia. I love that track in the games. It's been absolutely incredible for some drama, some great overtaking spots there, unlike Zandvoort, where it's a little bit harder. So we look forward to that. We hope you join us, but thank you all so much for watching. Have a lovely rest of the evening, and we'll see you next time.